like you can't handle one more piece of advice and you just want to have some peace in life? Well, this episode is for you because not only are we going to be talking about how to get peace, but it's going to be a lot simpler than you think and doesn't take as much effort as you imagine. I hope so. My name is Darren Thomason, and this is episode 165 from the Quilters Coach podcast. And the topic today is walking and how to enjoy guilt free. So let's talk about walking. Okay, so I actually have so much to say about this, and I'm really, really interested to hear your feedback. However, before I go into all of the thoughts that I have about walking and how to start doing it guilt free and all of that goodness, I need to share this win from one of the members in my membership. It's ironic that I'm talking about walking. So, this member, she's really struggled with her leg for a long time. So, she's been on crutches and not been able to put any weight on it for 18 weeks. It's a really long time. One of the things that she said about this whole experience was that she found strength that she didn't know she had. And she was able to, because of the tools, she's able to reframe her thinking. She was able to get help. She gave herself a lot of permission for being a human. She also proved that you can lose weight without having to move, which is awesome. It's what I say all the time. So it brings me into our topic today. Dallin H. O. He said, our weaknesses can become our strengths and our strengths can become our weaknesses. I definitely have seen throughout the years of weight loss for myself and a trend for my members is when we were younger, we could lose weight really easily, like relatively speaking. I remember my mom made me a dress once for this dance and it was pretty tight. And she's like, oh, just eat a salad and walk a little bit this week. And you'll be, I was like 19 or something. That was easy. And I remember in high school, same thing. I would be able to drop, 5 pounds, no problem in a week. And part of it is scientifically, I can explain why. We have what's called the allostoic load, and that's just basically wear and tear. So just like with a car, if you're running the engine, you got oils and you got all these different lubricating in the engine. And then you drive outside and it's pollen and there's leaves and there's dust and there's dirt and maybe the road just got refinished. The car will collect all this dust and different oils and lubricants and everything. And that's why we need to get an oil change. Once you get the oil change, then your car is good to go and it will run a lot smoother. It's the same thing with our body. So if we have a buildup of a lot of sugar and flour and we're not using all that energy, in our blood, we have lots of refined flour and sugar. And then if that's super loaded, the body says, well, we're kind of maxed out here. We've got to turn this extra energy into stored fat. So when we have a lot of that stored fat, then our bodies are having a harder and harder time to keep up. And we just have more and more fat that we are carrying around, which of course puts more pressure on our knees and on our hips and our internal organs as well. We've got the visceral fat and the subcutaneous fat. So the visceral fat is a lot more dangerous because it's putting a lot of pressure on our internal organ. As we get older, we can have more of that difficulty, especially if we're not really looking at, you know, all of our overconsumption of food. We talk about walking. Now, with walking, it's interesting. I have some surprising studies that I wanted to share. So, one is from the Cancer Research of the UK. They just give us so many good reasons. So, reduces stress, maintains healthy weight, discover new places, because you can see things when you walk by foot that you can't see in a car. It saves you money because you're saving money on gas. And also, you don't have to go to these gyms and you can just walk and talk so you can get connection with other people. It lowers your blood pressure, it increases your energy levels, and because you get that boost of energy, that dopamine, and it improves your sleep. It saves the planet for sure because you're not having as many emissions in the ozone, and it does help beat cancer. And then there's a study here by Harvard I love how, I have to come up with catchy titles. Five surprising benefits of walking. They are the first one is counteracts the effects of weight promoting genes. So Harvard researchers looked to 32 obesity promoting genes in over 12,000 people to determine how much these genes actually contribute to body weight. Among the study participants who walked briskly for about an hour a day, the effects of those genes were cut in half at gene level. It's amazing. It helps tame a sweet tooth. So there was another study that was down at the University of Exeter found that a 15-minute walk can curb cravings for chocolate and can reduce the amount of chocolate you eat in stressful situations. It reduces the risk of breast cancer. So there's an American Cancer Society zeroed in on walking, found that women who walked 7 or more hours a week had a 14% lower risk of breast cancer than those who walked 3 hours. Most studies have found that walking reduces arthritis related pain and that walking 5 to 6 miles a week can even prevent arthritis from forming in the first place. So that's amazing. And then it also boosts your immune function. So walking can help protect you during cold and flu season. There was a study of over 1,000 men and women found that those who walked at least 20 minutes a day, at least 5 days a week, had a 43% fewer sick days than those who exercise once a week or less. So this is the thing. And if you look at the worksheet, you're going to see here, we could just go on and on about all the benefits of walk, right? We could go on and on about the benefits of all sorts of things. But just like one of my clients said, we don't have a knowledge problem. We have a thinking problem. Well, this episode, my goal for you is just to talk a little bit about walking and then just share some of the things that have happened for me in my journey. My main goal for this episode is just to help you make a decision. Just make a decision. And I actually listened to Brooke Castillo, where I went to life coach school. She did a podcast episode on March 21st. It really struck a chord with me. Now, I've been a weight loss coach. I've lost 50 pounds and kept it off without exercise since 2019. And 2 years ago, 2022, I did the month of August, I did a let's walk every day challenge because another coach that I like, she did that. And I enjoyed watching her walk and talk. And I thought, oh, I can do that. It was a disaster. It was a disaster, ladies. I pushed against it. I was rebellious against it. It was shocking to me of how I reacted. So most of the walks I did, I was wearing my Birkenstocks. I never wore really a sports bra. Quite often the walks were late at night. In fact, one time I went on a walk and it got all of a sudden it was just like really dark and there was kind of this sketchy car. And I called my husband and I was like, can you come and pick me up? Like normally I'm not a scaredy pants, but we live out in the nature. There's not many people around and it was dark and he had a truck and it just made me I just listened to my instincts and it was like, no, you need to call. Like the guy like really slowed down when I walked by. Like it wasn't good. I was kind of rebelling. And sometimes my walk was literally just around my yard and it was like 10:30 at night. I did it because I said I would to my people, but I didn't get the benefit of it. I wanted to talk about that because, you know, clearly you don't have to walk. Clearly you can lose weight and not exercise at all. I've proven it and I've shown it to my members. But this is the thing that happened to me in March when I listened to Brooke's podcast about walking. She started just talking about how much she really enjoyed walking by herself. And then she talked about how much she enjoyed going for walks with other people. Then she talked about how much she enjoyed just going for walks sometimes with a podcast. And when she talked about that, I thought, I think I would enjoy that too. I love being in nature. I live in nature. Well, I don't know if you can see, but I'm just surrounded by trees. But the way that she talked about it just got my mind thinking of it in a totally different way. What I heard her saying was, you're taking yourself out of your regular everyday and you're putting yourself into a beautiful setting and you're just letting your body move and you just walk and you can have that time to yourself. And I craved it and I didn't realize how much I craved that. I think that in May, yeah, I started walking and I started waking up kind of early. and doing it before work. And I really started to enjoy it. But even when I went to Chicago and I was super tired and I was kind of frustrated and had some discouragement, I just went for a walk in our body called the vagus nerve. Now, the vagus nerve is kind of like the big channel of all the other nerves go off of. And one of them is called the sympathetic nervous system. And the sympathetic nervous system is the part of our nervous system that is constantly looking for danger. And it's part of our fight, flight, freeze, and fawn response. And so for people who are like super stressed and people who don't have a lot of calm and relaxation, sympathetic nervous system is like always going. And then attached to the vagus nerve is what's called the parasympathetic nervous system. So I like to think of it as like a parachute. It kind of opens up, slows down, and lets us have that perspective. The parasympathetic nervous system is related to our higher brain or more executive thinking. One of the things that happens when you walk is it helps you to calm down and to really get more into that parasympathetic nervous system. So it's this really great internal reward system. We get like a dopamine hit, we get those good hormones going on in our body because our body is saying, "Oh, this feels really good. I'm just like walking, I'm moving my body. My heart is beating, but I'm not like afraid. I'm like running away from someone. I'm not having to always be looking for danger. Like this feels really good." That's the body's reward system. In the past, weight loss, I used it as a weapon against me. I was like, oh man, I have to lose this, the next 5 pounds, or I'm going to this wedding, or I'm doing this thing. So the running shoes and the workout gear was kind of like a weapon, right? Like it was like punishment. So I had a really negative connotation to it. But what's the other part of this, the idea of going for a walk and going into nature and moving your body in a way that just feels good is that it also rewards our hormones. So our hormones are like little tiny cars that drive around. They're constantly telling the body what's going on. If our cortisol is really there, or the hormones are going crazy. They're saying, okay, we got to produce some more insulin. We got to get some energy into this woman. She's like having this really big problem, and we need to get more energy so that she can solve it. When we exercise from a place of love and a place of connection and a place of beauty, then those hormones, it's like they're getting a really good charge. What I want to end off with saying is that the most important part of your permanent change is you are the one who needs to make the changes. And they have to be unique to you. We're all different. We all had different parents. We all had different upbringings. I grew up in Canada. We have different expectations of being what's a stereotypical Canadian versus being an American. My son's going off to Africa for 2 years. It's going to be a really big culture shock. So the only way that we can truly make our own change is by understanding like who we are, understanding what has motivated us in the past, the kinds of conversations we have with ourselves, the kind of chatter in our head, all of that. And we have to really be aware of that in order for us to change, in order for us to really look at what's the most important for us and what do we need to do for us. Because we can go and talk to other people, get information from them, but ultimately, the buck stops here, right? We have to make our own decision. So I wanted to get on and just share. There's thousands of studies and there's tons of recommendations on the importance of walking. That's a Google thing, right? You can just Google that. But where the trouble is how do we create benefits? How do we create patterns that are going to benefit us? Now, once the kids go back to school, I one son who has been driving my other son to school, and he's going to be leaving in November. So I'm going to be having to do all that. I don't know if I'm going to be able to go have that freedom to go walk every morning first thing. And I don't know if I'm going to want to disrupt my work day to go for a walk. And then it gets dark by sometimes like 4 o'clock. Am I going to want to go for a walk at 4 o'clock with a headlamp? Oh, is that my walk's going to look a little different? Maybe I go at lunchtime and maybe I just don't go as far. And I'm not going to stress out about it because this is the other part that I can see you right now in my life. I have been enjoying waking up at 6:30, which is crazy. I wake up at 6:30 and I go for a 6 kilometer walk, sometimes 6 days a week. And I'm just like, that's fun. Well, I don't know if I'm going to keep doing that in September. Doesn't mean I have to keep doing it. There's lots of things I like. I'm really curious of your reaction to this podcast. And I love the idea of thinking, and I'm here making this podcast. What's today? A Thursday night. Today was kind of a wild day. Didn't quite get as much done in summertime when I'm recording this. But the boys are off to basketball, and I'm just going to do these podcasts while they're gone. Having a life coach or having life coaching tools means that you can now safely go into your own brain and start creating your own happy and healthy pattern. What you did in the past is like both good and bad. And you don't have to know everything in the future. You really don't. So do I know that I'm going to walk as much? My husband actually looked up a headlamp the other day. He's like, "Oh, we can get you this headlamp." And I was like, "Yeah, we could. Or not." So interested in your feedback from this episode. Oh, that's what I was going to say. So I'm here having a conversation with you. It's a Thursday night for me. August 1st, I'm doing this, and I know it's coming out September. Past Dara is taking care of future. Current Dara is taking care of future Dara because I want to, when I go on vacation, I guess I've already gone on vacation once you get this, but I want for the whole time I'm on vacation, I don't want to have to worry about anything at work. So my August 1st Dara is taking care of September Dara because I want to enjoy August 14th to 28th. And then when we come back from vacation, I want to be able to be fully present with the kids, getting them ready for school and sending my one son back to school. This is what happens when you learn life coaching tools. You really start to build an amazing relationship with yourself. And I love helping people do that. So you're going to see some changes. So I'm excited for you to be a part of this. All right. Take care, everyone. Bye.
If you aren't loving your current life and hear yourself saying things like, I should be happier, I should be getting more done, or question how productive and fulfilled you are, this podcast is for you. I'm Dara Thomason, professional quilter turned life coach for quilters, where I show you how to overcome obstacles like perfectionism, people pleasing, overeating, overcomplicating life, so that you can really start to enjoy your life by learning and using tools for your brain to help you transform your everyday living. Are you ready to make these changes? I'm ready to help. Let's start your transformation one UFO at a time.